we do that, we need to talk just for a minute about what a polyhedron is. So if I'm writing, I want you writing, please. Polyhedron. With Miss Doral and I, we've been talking about three-dimensional figures, okay? And we've been talking about them in the last few days. Polyhedrons are also three-dimensional figures. This morning you're seeing a very typical day in math. We happen to be sort of right in the middle of topic 13 on three-dimensional figures. We have spent some time learning about three-dimensional figures, what they are, and then today we are expanding that a little bit further and looking at polyhedrons, which are three-dimensional figures but only with flat sides. So they're spending some time sorting and identifying the different properties of a polyhedron, looking at pyramids versus prisms, and on a regular basis, every day that we teach math, we do it in a rotation system, so they're spending some time at a game, some time working independently, and some time with me in front. Polyhedrons are three-dimensional figures that have all flat surfaces. All flat surfaces. So I can see you thinking about that. If they have all flat surfaces, do you think they roll? Do you think they roll? Elijah?
No.
No. If they have a flat surface, are they going to be able to roll across your desk? Everybody shake your head. No, they can't. So what does that mean for our sphere, Marion? Is it a polyhedron? The objective of that lesson is what is a polyhedron, that it is a three-dimensional figure with flat surfaces. We want to take the idea of a polyhedron and then break it up into its two main parts, a prism and a pyramid, helping students to identify the fact that prisms have two bases, pyramids have one, and what the shape of the rest of their flat surfaces would be. We want them then also to be able to take that information and then build upon what they've already learned about faces, edges, and vertices, and be able to identify how many of each one of those properties there are in a polyhedron, and also being able to name them. So those were our specific objectives for today. What kind of three-dimensional figure was that? Or an orange, what kind of three-dimensional figure is that? Well, now today we're taking those three-dimensional figures and we're going to build on that and just pull out the polyhedrons. And you did a beautiful job of that. Are these guys still three-dimensional figures?
Yes.
Yes, because they're standing up off the table. But we now have additional three-dimensional figures that have more properties. And we call those polyhedrons. We want to make sure that students are seeing geometry as a whole all around them and being able to make connections to their real world. And so identifying real-world objects with three-dimensional figures is one way that will just help them to ultimately be able to name and identify a three-dimensional object, which is one of their fifth grade standards. In addition to that, we want them to just be able to make connections with math in their real world, to be able to look outside at buildings or in their kitchen and be able to see all of our different geometric terms that we've talked about, everything from a line segment to array, angles, different types of triangles, and then ultimately as we've been building with three-dimensional figures. So we've been sort of doing that all along the way as we've been teaching geometry, and that is to connect geometry terms and geometry vocabulary with things that they would see and experience in the real world outside of the classroom.
So you know what it is, like, so you don't, like, so you will know what it is and know your shapes and stuff.
If you wanted to be an artist, you need to know how to draw shapes.
Someone asked me what shape something is, or how something looks, I can describe it as a polyhedron.
And prisms and pyramids are going to get their names based on this important base. So you can see how important that base is, because it's going to give it its name. Okay, what shape or what is the polygon that this pyramid is sitting on?
Square.
A square. So this would be a square pyramid. Okay, it gets its name from the base, square pyramid. Let's see if I can find another one. Our standards have changed and our expectations for students have gotten greater and greater, even in the 14 years that I've been teaching. I would definitely say that the standards in math have gotten deeper with our change to Common Core. We're teaching less breadth, more depth, and so definitely have been teaching things to fifth graders that we would not have been teaching to fifth graders a long time ago. I would say, however, some of the differences in teaching not only are the standards, but also the methods by which you would teach those standards, because even when I was taught math, there was one way to teach it, and usually it was a very rote way of memorizing things, and you would go through a particular process, or you would memorize a certain list of vocabulary. But today we try and really stretch that understanding to help kids discover things on their own through inquiry-based learning, and also to show them that there's more than one way to solve a problem, that when you approach problem solving, that we're not just talking about a specific way, but that there are multiple ways. And our Envision series has done a really nice job of helping us do that. You know, take for instance, just finding the area of a trapezoid. You can teach them the basic formula, but we also want to teach them the understanding behind why that formula is going to help them determine the area of that figure. And so it's more about why and about multiple possibilities of solving. And so I would agree that even in my 14 years of teaching, it's changed process and also product. Now we have a question here. I'm going to grab this one too because this one is the same polyhedron as this. Do you agree that they're all the same? Mm-hmm. All right, so I'm looking at this polyhedron here, and I'm trying to decide, is it prism or is it pyramid? This one is just a little bit bigger than this one, but they're all basically the same. They've got triangles here, rectangles here, triangles here, rectangles here. So, prism, pyramid. Angel, what do you think?
Prism.
Why?
Because the pyramid has 8 edges and that one has like I can't count it. 7.
I'm so glad you remembered the term edge, because edges are really important when we're talking about polyhedrons. We definitely are seeing a trend in the need to get students engaged and motivated to learn these different fields and ultimately get very specialized. You can see lots of different specialization areas coming out, not only in technology, but also in science fields and mathematic fields. I would say that we want to encourage just general learning and general excitement about learning, because ultimately, if we ever want them to get more specialized or to get more technologically based in their learning, we've got to just spur a love of learning within them. And I think that the ways that we go about doing that, and the ways that I go about doing that in here, is to just try and make it fun, to try and make it engaging, but also to have them leave the lesson knowing firmly what they just learned. I don't ever want them to leave my group or to leave the day being like confused about what it is that I was trying to teach them or what it is that they were trying to accomplish on their own independently. I always want them to know that, because I think that they will love their learning when they can own their learning. And the only way they can own their learning is by being able to repeat and share and teach others what they've learned.
Well, that's good.
Prism.
This goes over here. I got that from yesterday, pyramid. It's solid with one base. That is.
Well, we were learning about polyhedrons and how they are polyhedrons or not, and putting the shapes into the right order and stuff like that.
And we classified the different ones, like pyramid and prism, and she gave us a box of shapes.
Well, she took the bin out, put little sticky notes that says polyhedron or not polyhedron, and then we would get the shapes, what was in the bin, and we'll match them up to if it's a polyhedron or not a polyhedron.
And after that, we took all the prisms and put them in a way. And then we stuck all the non-prisms in a box, and then we just put them away. And then we pulled over the ones that were prisms, and we had to classify if they were pyramids or prisms. Because some were just like boxes and cubes and rectangular prisms, and then some were not cylinders, pyramids and stuff, so.
Every day in math, I try and have 3 different stations. In addition to that station, you'll see an application station, so some sort of game or center that applies specifically to what their learning is for that day, or it could be the past few days if we're building on something. And you are going to be going around the game board trying to collect as many straws and pipe cleaners as you can. And as you collect them during your game, you're going to use the straws and pipe cleaners to build your prism or your aquarium. And I built one at some point. I don't remember where I put it. But it's going to look something like this when you're finished building your aquarium. The idea is to be the first one of your team that's playing your game to be able to build your aquarium. Okay, so you're going to be working on that.
Nothing. All right, one. You take 4 pipes. I have too many pipes.
Today they happened to be building an aquarium from a game called Flip Flop. So they were going around the game board trying to collect straws and pipe cleaners in order to build an aquarium for their fish. And the aquarium was the rectangular prism that we had been discussing in group.
Whenever we move, we roll the dice and we move, and it either says pick up or move back, or pick up a certain piece. And then we have we make a prism out of those shapes, out of the things. We move the things around.
At their seats, they're working on a couple of different things. It's more of an independent practice time. They're working either on a workbook page or some sort of assignment that I've given them. Sometimes that's a buddy project, sometimes that's something that they do that doesn't even have to be turned in necessarily, but it's more independent thinking, something that they would do on their own and might spur some questions for them to ask later.
I went to my desk to work on a math page, and she gave us a sheet while we were over there, and we had to find how many faces and vertices and edges there were in a shape, and we had to finish that. And then I had to work on my math page, which was it gave you a shape, and then you had to classify what vertices and faces and because there were letter points, and you had to name the letter points as vertices, edges, or faces.
I was doing I rolled the dice, and I moved my piece into the number that I rolled the dice to, and every time it said pick 4 or pick 1 or go back 3 spaces, I would listen to it and get a straw and try to build an aquarium.
I went up to Miss Chappel, and we separated the polyhedrons and not a polyhedron. And after that, we separated prisms from triangular. It's there were different shapes, and it was 3D, and they looked cool.
I'm a firm believer in differentiated instruction, and I believe that there are lots of ways to differentiate your instruction, and it could be based on readiness and skill, which is sort of what I was discussing before with my lesson. My questioning techniques, things like that, even my assignments that I assign might be based on what students are capable of doing based on their skill level. However, there are other ways that you can differentiate as well, and one of them is based on learning style. So I try and provide opportunities for students to experience, visual, auditory, kinesthetic types of learning, and even if it's not their strength, still try and provide that opportunity for them, keeping in mind in my head that I know that we've got all these different kinds of learners, and so just by me providing those opportunities, it would be important.
We'd put the sticks, and we would make stuff out of the straws and the little cotton stuff. I forgot what it's called. But we would put the cotton stuff in the straws and make stuff out of it.
What you got?
In addition to learning styles and readiness and skill, there's also just choice. We can differentiate our students' learning. I like to give them opportunities where they're not just all the time having to do pencil paper work and then turn something in. That's important, and it's necessary for me to be able to assess whether students are understanding the instruction, but it's not our only mode of practice. Explain to me what a polyhedron is, and you can look back at your notes if you need to.
It's three-dimensional figures with all flat surfaces.
All flat surfaces. So that means that everything in this pile should have all flat surfaces. Uh-oh.
So is that?
Would you like to rethink your decision?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you come around here and put it in the not a polyhedron section? All right.
Yeah, we put ours.
Now I think we're on the right track. I think I like to teach math because it's just engaging, it's fun. I enjoy problem solving with students and helping them sort of see different routes to take a problem down. So I've definitely had teachers that have, even algebra teachers and teachers of math that you would think were maybe not our most favorite subjects in school. I've had some very stellar math teachers, and so I think that's probably helped. I think they inspire me. The students themselves inspire me. When I see them get excited about building an aquarium or referring back to their notes that we've taken, that inspires me because that means that they're learning, that means that they're remembering things, that means that they are using what they've learned to apply to a different area or a question, and so they inspire me and they make me want to teach a better lesson the next day, and they make me want to find new ways and more creative ways to share information with them. So it's twofold. Great job with that group. Let's see if we have any non-polyhedrons hanging out over here in this group. Not roll. Good. Excellent job. Give me 5. You guys did an absolutely perfect job. No question.
I like geometry more than like the other stuff that we usually do, because it's just like measuring angles with the protractor. It's fun. And then I like the game because it's a game and it's school, so you get to play a game in school. And yeah. But being up front with Miss Chappel, I like that because she's right there and I know if I have a question or something I can ask her.
They are very into what's going on socially, and that makes my job in the classroom very important. I have to make sure that I keep them motivated and engaged in learning at all times, because if I don't, they will have a tendency to want to make sure that they know what's going on socially. They're changing developmentally. They're going through things cognitively and developmentally right now in their lives that they've never experienced before. And so part of my job is to help them through that understanding and to help their families through that understanding so that they can keep their focus on their schoolwork and on their learning, but at the same time maintain healthy, appropriate relationships with one another inside and outside the classroom.
Compared to 4th grade or all the other grades, it's very hard, but I like it. It's like, because you're the oldest kids in the school, so all the little kids look up to you. And yeah, and it gives you more freedom, like just, they let you can walk, like let's say you need to walk somewhere, you can do it because you're in 5th grade. Teacher doesn't have to walk with you. And yeah, I like it. I mean, I remember when I was a little kid and I used to look up to the 5th graders and be like, wow, I can't wait to be there.
Just the capabilities that they have in here, the idea that they come to you being able to read, and they have creative abilities that you can tap into, make teaching 5th grade really fun. So there's definitely things that I have enjoyed about teaching 5th grade these last 3 years.
Miss Chappel, she's always happy and jolly and like and like I don't know. She's happy and
She likes to run. She's fun. She does a lot of activities, like we go to Buddies, which is the special needs kids, and we like do stuff with them.
Because she's really nice and she's doing a pretty good job on teaching us. Like when I need help on a problem, she'll come over here and like explain it to me. She won't give me the answer, but she'll explain it. Because like everybody needs help in the classroom, and she has to like help everybody here that needs help.
We're going to take the idea of a three-dimensional figure and we're going to break it apart a little bit further. We're going to build on what you've been learning all week long about three-dimensional figures, and now I introduced to you before what a polyhedron is. Can somebody go back to your notes and share with us what a polyhedron is?
A three-dimensional figure with all flat surfaces.
All flat surfaces is the new property. So it's three-dimensional, yes, but it has all flat surfaces. So would you take a second and with your group mates here, kindly and quietly separate polyhedron, not a polyhedron. Oh, you want to put something in the middle. Why do you want to put those in the middle, Kaylee?
Because I'm not sure if they roll or not.
Because we're not sure. Well, let's see. Being Teacher of the Year for Brentwood Elementary is a great honor. It's an honor that is given to you by your peers, and so that means to me that I have a group of colleagues that see what I do in the classroom as important and beneficial to students and to our profession. I think being a strong leader here on campus is important as a job of being Teacher of the Year, and I enjoy working with teachers and collaborating with them and coaching them through different things, and so it's a responsibility that I don't hold lightly, and but that I appreciate very much.
I think she's a really good teacher, and like before I came into this class, I wasn't as needed as I am now, and she helps me get through things. Like I have way better grades now, and I like Miss Chappel, so I think she deserves it.
I appreciate the laid-back nature of Brentwood Elementary. Our profession is held to its highest esteem and our expectations are held high, and yet we're allowed some of the freedoms that we need as teachers in the classroom to deliver information in the best way that we know that we should be delivering it. So there's lots of great things about Brentwood Elementary, and I sure am glad to be a part of the Brentwood family.